Hello, I'm Melissa Hekalea, and this is TVB News. Good news for employees contributing to the mandatory Provident Fund. An MPF consultant company said today the average earning per person has reached $23,006 up to the third quarter this year. That's almost triple last year's figure. Mimo Singhai reports.
Hong Kong stock markets have surged notably in recent days as mainland authorities introduced stimulus measures, including a cut in mortgage rates. A local MPF consultant company, GUM, announced the MPF performance as of September 24th. It said the average earning per person has reached more than $23,000, a 9.4% increase in return. The company said the overall performance of the MPF remains positive as the global stock markets are recovering even when concerns exist, such as a possible U.S. economic recession. For the fourth quarter, the company said investors should not focus on a single market because of the upcoming U.S. presidential election and rising geopolitical risks. Michael Chan, managing director of GUM, said low-risk members should pay attention to the support that U.S. interest rate cuts offer for bond funds. Meanwhile, the Hong Kong Federation of Trade Unions said the annualized return rate in the last decade is between negative 2.67% and 1.53%. The party hopes the government can launch products with a guaranteed rate of return. News 9, TVB News.
Two staff members of Yan Chai Hospital appeared in court today on child abuse charges. The case involves a 4-year-old girl who suffered cardiac arrest in May after undergoing a stitching procedure to close a wound in the hospital's emergency ward.
62-year-old Wen Mei Kwan, one of the defendants, worked as a patient care assistant at Yan Chai Hospital. Wen appeared at the Sha Tin Magistrates Court today with another defendant, registered nurse Chang Tin Wing, 26. They were released on bail of $10,000 each. They are barred from leaving Hong Kong and were ordered not to contact any witnesses in the case. They must report to police twice a week. The case was adjourned to December 23rd on prosecution's request. The two were accused of intentionally ill-treating or neglecting a patient who was 4 years old at the time, causing her unnecessary pain or health damage. On May 25th, the girl was taken to Yan Chai Hospital's emergency ward because of a head wound. The girl's heart stopped beating for 18 minutes after being given stitches to close the wound. She remains in intensive care at Princess Margaret Hospital. According to the hospital authority, the two staff members have been suspended from duty. Celine Chan, TVB News.
Another overseas non-permanent judge has stepped down from the Hong Kong Court of Final Appeal. Nicholas Phillips is the 5th British judge to leave the top court this year. The 86-year-old became a non-permanent judge of the Hong Kong Court of Final Appeal in 2012. The judiciary said the judge had declined an extension to his tenure because of personal reasons. The judiciary thanked Phillips for his contribution to the Court of Final Appeal over the past 12 years. With Phillips' departure, 6 overseas non-permanent judges remain on the court. A Cathay Pacific Airways flight bound for Chicago was diverted to Tokyo on Sunday after an incident inside the aircraft involving a passenger. Mimo Singhai reports.
The affected flight CX-806 departed Hong Kong at around 12:40 p.m. on Sunday and was headed for Chicago O'Hare International. While in the air, the pilot decided to land at Tokyo Narita International Airport because of safety reasons, after a passenger was reported to have harassed others on board. The passenger was taken out of the aircraft. The flight departed Tokyo at around 8 p.m. Japan time and arrived in Chicago 2 hours later than scheduled. Sources say the passenger was seated in economy class. The person was allegedly drunk after consuming alcohol and was slurring at flight attendants. As to which country's jurisdiction can be applied if the passenger's actions are considered criminal, lawyer Albert Luke referred to the general conditions of carriage for passengers and baggage of the airline. He said the conditions act as a contract agreed by passengers when they buy a ticket. Luke said the conditions state that Hong Kong law will be applied in the event of any dispute. News 9, TVB News.
U.S. President Joe Biden has approved $567 billion in defense support for Taiwan. Beijing has warned the move will backfire and urged Washington to stop arming the island in any form. The White House said in a statement late Sunday that the package will cover defense articles and services of the U.S. Department of Defense, as well as military education and training. Biden, who earlier stated his opposition to Taiwan independence, signed into law late April a multi-billion-dollar bill that includes funding for Taiwan defense. Beijing today blasted Washington's latest defense support for the island, calling it a violation of the One China policy and a provocation that jeopardizes peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. A far-right Freedom Party in Austria has won parliamentary elections. Leader Herbert Kickl is aiming to build a coalition to become chancellor. It means yet another European country is lurched to the right amid dissatisfaction with the EU, high prices, support for Ukraine, and migration. The vote was close, with the Freedom Party topping the polls with 29%, a lead of only about 3 percentage points. On hearing of a far-right victory, some protested on the streets of Vienna. The second-placed conservatives who had been in power said they will not work in a government led by Kickl. Kickl spoke to supporters at a celebration, telling them he is ready to lead and saying victory opens a new era. It is the first far-right win in a national parliamentary election in Austria since World War II. The Freedom Party ran under the promise of remigration of uninvited foreigners and want to build Fortress Austria. The party also wants to drop sanctions against Russia. Welcome back. Recovery and cleanup efforts were underway in Nepal as the death toll from landslides and floods rose to 192, with many more injured. Days of heavy monsoon rain triggered the disasters, damaging more than 1,300 houses and blocking 47 national highways. Authorities have rescued over 4,500 people and announced temporary school closures across the country. Danny Zhou reports.
Heavy downpours triggered by a low-pressure system in the Bay of Bengal have been ravaging Nepal since Friday last week. The capital city, Kathmandu, was the hardest hit, with at least 34 deaths. Some areas reported up to 322.2 millimeters of rain. The Department of Hydrology and Meteorology issued an alert saying that the water level in the city's main Bagmati River had surpassed the danger threshold. In central Nepal, the Bailey Bridge connecting the Tatopani border with China has been destroyed, halting container movements along the trade route. About 36 bodies were recovered from 3 passenger buses buried in a landslide in Japal Kola of Darding district. Thousands of rescuers were deployed to evacuate stranded residents with inflatable boats and ropes. It is the worst rainstorm the Himalayan nation has witnessed in 54 years. Experts have blamed poor urban planning and climate change for the huge damage. The Education Ministry has ordered all local governments to shut down schools for 3 days starting from Sunday and postpone university examinations scheduled for Tuesday. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
In Beijing this morning, President Xi Jinping led a solemn tribute to the nation's heroes as the country marked Martyrs' Day. Sakura Ip reports.
The commemoration ceremony began at 10 a.m. in Tiananmen Square under light rain. The People's Liberation Army Band played the trumpets, blowing the Martyrs' Day bugle. In attendance were President Xi Jinping, 7 members of the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party, and Vice President Han Zheng. A moment of silence was observed to honor the fallen heroes who devoted themselves to the liberation of the Chinese people and the development of the People's Republic of China. 9 large flower baskets were placed in front of the monument to the people's heroes. President Xi walked up to the pedestal and led other party and state leaders to walk around the monument to pay tribute to the martyrs. Representatives of various sectors then laid flowers at the monument to pay their respects. In 2014, the Standing Committee of National People's Congress officially designated September 30th as the Martyrs Memorial Day. The state serves to honor sacrificed martyrs. Memorial activities will be held across the country. Sakarib, TVB News, Beijing.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.